Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenya Revolutionary for another evening session, just to hear your views of what's happening in Kenya, just to chit chat with you for a minute, hear where your mind is at. Well, that's not good English. To hear what's on your mind, that is. So I know it's late in Kenya. Karibuni sana, karibuni sana, karibuni sana. Get in. I'll just speak to you briefly. I won't stay here for long, but I'll be here talking about stuff, what's going on in Kenya. Really briefly, won't take much of your time, but we shall discussion we shall have. Again. So take a minute and hit that like, subscribe button and all that good stuff. If you've already subscribed, excuse me, it's hot where I am. If you've already subscribed, the first order of business, is for you to like the video. If this is your first time, this is Kenyan Revolutionary Channel. I talk about Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya. So karibu sana, take a seat and let's rock. Hold on, let me adjust something here real quick. Okay, so anyway, the Kenyan elections, the illusion of choice. Okay, you already know the drill. I know I've probably, drilled this in your heads. If you watch my videos often, you probably know what I'm about to talk about. But I'll be all over the place because there's a lot happening. First of all, just before we get started, I think by now you guys saw the so-called university students who came out and said, no more mandamano. What else were they saying? It was just ridiculous. They came out with suits. They were like a bunch of Caswell wannabes, okay? They were talking about, we should be caring about HLEB, the loans or whatever the case is, and that there's no mandamano and all this stuff. You can tell they were basically told by Raila Odinga to go out there and, say whatever they were saying because they were all in support of this intergenerational conclave. Like I say, it's a bunch of baloney. But hey, that's Kenyan politics. It's full of baloney, right? But anyway, so we see that these young folks who are so-called the student representatives were out there telling us about, how they're opposed to mandamano. Thank you so much, Mugendi again, Katende, my brother from another mother, straight from Kampala. Hit the like button, the first order of business. Thank you so much for joining me. So you already know these guys were actually sent there to say what they were saying, to give the impression that, what Raila Odinga said in his interview reverberated with, is getting with the young folks, because they were like, yeah, we as young folks, as university students, we are all for the conclave discussion, intergenerational dialogue, okay? We need a seat at the table. We need to get the young folks elected and all this stuff, which is a bunch of stupidity, okay? Stupid stuff. I always argue, I don't know what's this obsession of people talking about, we need young folks to be representing us. Yes, I get it. I get the idea that, yes, we do need some younger folks to take some positions. For example, like to take political seats or representative seats. For example, if you look at Oburu Kenyatta, who is Oburu Kenyatta. Did I say Oburu Kenyatta? Oburu Odinga, who is 345 years, okay, has been in government since before even Kenya became independent. And he still wants to stick to his position as a senator of Siaya and wants to sit on every committee and all that stuff. So it makes sense, yes, we might need somebody younger, but in general, age shouldn't be a qualifying factor for a representative post, okay, or for a qualification. If you're looking for public, public to represent the public, just because you're young, that's not a qualification. That's not an automatic qualification for you to get the job, okay? Yes, we do need younger folks, but you need to pass chapter 6. You have to have integrity. You have to have somebody who has a past. And when I say a past, I mean somebody who has a history, a resume, a CV that actually helps. Yes, they have to demonstrate that they actually qualified for the position that they are running for, or they are, want to be part of, okay? You just don't pick a bunch of know nothings like Oscar Suri and the gang, who will make TikTok videos calling people names and all this stuff. Then you'll end up with the Gachaguas and the Railas and just a bunch of con men who are basically fitting into this criminal enterprise that we call the state of Kenya, okay? Now, another thing I want to respond to is Morara made a video and he was talking about, of course he was not chastising, but he was talking about the opposition. What do they call him? What are these people? A united opposition? Is that what they're calling? With Martha Karua, Gachagua, Matiangi, Kalonzo, Wamalo, and all these idiots. They're calling themselves united opposition, okay? So what's this? Kebaso came out and made a video basically saying that, okay, these guys are all about tribe. And he's trying to take a position, the same position that the Gen Zs are taking, which is, this political class have nothing better to offer but to play tribal politics. That's the nature of how we run our politics, okay? But again, I wrote on the comment section to correct him. And I have to re-emphasize this because I see a lot of people get swayed by all these silly arguments, okay? They get caught up with in their feelings, in their emotions, okay? They don't want to think things through, okay? The problem in Kenya is not tribalism. I'll repeat that again. I know it's shocking to some of you because you think Ukabila is the number one problem in Kenya, is what is causing us this mess that we are in economically and all this stuff. No, it's not. There's nothing wrong with being of a different tribe. Tribalism, in a classic sense, okay? In a classic sense, is not a bad thing. No one woke up, no one was born, and came up, chose what tribe they belong to, what clan they are, whose father they didn't choose their father, they didn't choose their mother, they didn't choose the tongue that they speak. They were born under the parents that you were, and they were Kikuyu based on, their lineage, okay? Biologically speaking, and whatever the case is, okay? So you can't blame that on somebody, you can't just say, okay, just because the fact that we are a different tribes, that's enough problem, okay? Or how we conduct our business based on tribe. In a sense, it's not, like I say, in its classic sense, it's not a bad thing being of a different tribe. And again, listen, if you look at the Constitution, these constituencies, okay, the whole idea of Majimboism was about, every area of the country, given these different counties, okay, they would receive, funds, and the government, how it was designed, was supposed to, we were all supposed to have an equitable resources, equity. The resources that we collect from, our taxes and all the revenue that we get, given our budget, this was supposed to be divvied up equally in all counties. It wasn't the president who decides, oh, you guys didn't vote for me, I'm not giving you this money. Or the people of Kisii didn't vote for me, they're not getting money for a new school or new, whatever the case is, okay? The Constitution is very clear how that money was supposed to be divvied up, okay? So, again, the problem in Kenya is not tribalism, okay? Now, tribalism in its negative connotation, as we know it for, using tribe as a way of an advantage over the other tribe, yes, it exists, but it is symptomatic of what the real underlying issue is, which is lack of respect for the rule of law. I've always preached that, and I will continue preaching that, okay? I see WS Banka, karibu sana, okay? And I will continue preaching that until we get it right, okay? The bottom line is Kenya faces is the lack of implementation of this wonderful document that we agreed upon as a people to abide by, okay? And it spells out how we are going to govern ourselves. Now, we came up with these ideas, put it on paper, and signed on to it and swore to follow it to the T, okay? But when it was time for the rubber to actually hit the road, no one seems interested in implementing this wonderful document we call the Constitution, okay? Ruto is preaching to us every day, telling us about these wonderful ideas he has for Kenya, but none of it are constitutional. None of it abides by the Constitution, okay? Same thing with Gachagua. That's why I scoff at every time I see Gachagua when he was addressing people, I don't know where, in Boston or whatever, Seattle or whatever the case is, telling people, oh, Ruto does not care about the Constitution, Ruto is violating everybody's human rights. He forgets that he was actually an ardent follower, a deputy at that, who was vehemently supporting Ruto, a staunch supporter of this regime, while they were brutalizing people, okay? And even in the governments before that, in Moi and all these tyrants that we've had in Kenya. So for Gachagua to start telling us about all the ills that Ruto is doing right now, it's to me, it's just I feel like telling him, you know, you need to shut up. Yeah, you can finish the sentence, okay? Because it's hypocrisy. Same thing with Raila Odinga. Same thing with Martha Karua. Same thing with Kalonzo Musyoka. I mean, Kalonzo Musyoka, listen, this guy was sitting at the NADCO committee when they were sitting at Bomas with the Chungwa and Aaron Cheriot and the other idiots, okay? While they were drafting up this BBI nonsense, okay? That now Kalonzo Musyoka in 2025 is acting as if he wasn't part of that. Like he doesn't support it. He doesn't even know what it is, okay? Now, that's what I'm telling you. That's the example of the kind of hypocrisy we got. That's why for those of you who are still believing that, oh, we are going to Linda Kura, I don't know, Gachagua was telling the same idiotic reasoning that I hear people still spewing out there in public forums, saying that, oh, when we go to the elections, oh, we are going to send the vijana to go and wakachunge kura. You think that's going to work? Do you know how many vijanas were lindering kura the last time or whatever the case is? Okay? Because like I said, I keep on going back to what Joseph Stalin said. It is not the people who vote that decides who won an election, but it is the person, the people who actually count the vote, who decides who actually won. That's why Ruto is ahead of the game, because he knows you are a bunch of nitwits who still believe that you can overwhelmingly vote him out. He does understand what happened in 2002, and he's doing whatever he can. That's why, and it's actually very similar, because if you see the reason why Kibaki in 2007 is what I was referring to, the reason why Kibaki remained in power and refused to cede power, his main argument was that he was what? Remember this? Duly elected by the people of Kenya. Do you remember that? Why did he maintain that he was duly elected? Because Kibaki understood it is not the people who vote, regardless of how the majority, if the majority were voting him out, he doesn't care about that. Nobody cares about how many people show up to vote. You can have 1 billion, trillion people trying to vote him out. That does not count. It is the person who is going to declare, and the person who is mandated by the Constitution to announce who is the winner. So what did Kibaki do? And it's the similar thing with what this guy is doing, Ruto is doing, which is get the IBC to be on your side to declare you president, okay? Regardless of whether you won or not, whether there's massive cases of rigging. That does not, hata mkisimama kwa hizo those polling stations and you're lindering and you can see obvious signs of rigging, it does not matter, okay? Because as long as the IBC chairperson comes out and say, Ruto won, that is what he will stand on. So if you go to the Supreme Court, which he has also usurped power from. We do not have the three branches of government. We do not have independent independent institutions. Okay, they are both serving Ruto at this point. So if you go to the courts and argue your case and say, hey, listen, there's overwhelming cases of rigging, okay, you are still going to lose, because guess what? Koome is dining with Ruto, and Ruto will send her a message and be like, hey, listen, you know what time it is. Again, this is a repeat of 2017, 2007. Remember 2017? Okay. Uhuru knew what to do. And guess who was deputizing that evil act? Ruto. Okay. After Maraga, said, hey, there's no election here. This is null and void. We need to repeat this. The second time, they had to shoot one of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Kenya, shot the gentleman, security guy, dead, to scare off Maraga, and Maraga had to make the call and play ball, okay? And already Chebukati was on his pocket, so they didn't worry about Chebukati. Chebukati knew what to do, okay? He knew the program, so yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. And I saw a bunch of young people who called themselves Gen Zs who are in suits, and they came out and had a press conference, which, they came up with the idea, hey, why don't we have this idea of a blockchain technology, okay? The same blockchain thing to run our elections. And I responded to that, and I said, this was actually tried in the US in the last elections. When was it? Last elections. When was it? Not 2024. 2020. Is it 2020? When did Biden become president? 2020? 2020? Yes, that's election right there. Yeah. Yes, W Banker, I remember that. In 2000, when we remember what happened in Florida. I will never forget. What's her name? Catherine Harris. She was the secretary. What did you call it? Secretary of State. Is it Secretary of State? Secretary, whatever. The person who declares, because in elections, okay. In the US, the elections are determined. Every state kind of determines how they run their elections, okay? That's why you see some states, they use electoral ballots. Some states actually stay away from the electoral ballots. Some states, they are okay with mail-in ballots and all that stuff. So every state actually are responsible for the election. It's not a federalized system, okay? But I do remember Catherine Harris. I think that was her name. She was the secretary. What do you call it? Secretary staff, whatever. I forgot. Who later came to become part of Bush's administration. But anyway, yes, it was a close election. Actually, even the media declared Al Gore as president. Then they reneged on that. Then the Supreme Court, the matter went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ordered the stopping of the counting in Florida. But I wanted to mention about this whole blockchain technology thing, idea of blockchain technology where you can actually follow this thing real time, and whenever somebody votes, and you can see it in real time. In 2020, when there was massive cases of rigging, possible rigging, okay, evidence. If you Fulton County in Georgia, Maricopa County in Arizona, Wayne County in Detroit, Michigan. You can name it. Vegas, Las Vegas. I don't know. It was worldwide. Pennsylvania was a no-go place. There are some states, there are some counties where this whole blockchain thing was being used. And I think if you watch Mike, what's his name? This guy that sells mattresses. What's his name? The Pillow Guy, Mike Pillow Guy. If you live in the United States, you know who his name. I forgot his name. He has a documentary. I forgot the name of the documentary. I watched it 2 years ago, which basically, breaks down how the whole thing happened. Okay, There's a guy that I follow on X. I forgot his name. He's really techie guy who has worked in numerous elections, especially in the US and outside the US. He also actually testified under oath and signed on an affidavit explaining how this blockchain voting system technology that these young folks in Kenya are trying to bring there. He actually breaks it down how it was manipulated, not only by forces within the United States, also forces outside the United States, okay? With China being part of the culprits. Karibu sana, I see you, WS Banker, and not WS Banker. Gypsy Corner 2, I see you, join the fun. You know the first order of business. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like, share, comment, and do all the good, wonderful stuff. Nice seeing you again. So yes, so anyway, like I was saying, the blockchain technology thing that these young folks, it's a wonderful way, wonderful thinking outside the box, basically. But again, that will not stop Ruto, who was ahead of everyone. I mean, this guy went and bought that Pegasus thing from the Israelis that was spying on his opponents. Okay, he probably knows what I talk about every day, and through my gadgets and all that stuff. And he spied on Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, and all his political opponents. Okay, this guy was, he invested in what he needed to invest in order to win the elections in 2022 in Kenya. Okay, so like I say, that's not the avenue that might take out Ruto out. Like I said, I usually tell you, and the same thing I said in Morara's Pegasus used to hack journalists. Yes, that was by the Israelis. Pegasus in Kenya was used by Ruto to actually spy on his opponents, okay, and people who he thought were working to defeat him, okay. So he was kind of ahead of his game, okay, ahead of the game, all right. Even though I thought this whole thing, in my honest opinion, do you want to hear it? My honest opinion, I think Ruto and Uhuru played Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga later found out, and he did what he did best: cause chaos in order to get what you want. Doing by what? Violence, chaos, anarchy, riots, protests, all that, where we shall have Garcia, people fighting, business stalling, everyone shall start complaining. The same thing I was explaining in my last video, okay? As if you bring chaos, you bring order out of chaos, okay? Same thing, okay? If you look at Raila Odinga's handshakes, what preceded the handshake? It's always chaos, protests, people getting shot down, people killing each other, Red Cross coming in, human rights, and all this nonsense, ICC, blah, blah, blah. Then Raila Odinga goes, shakes the hand of whoever is say to be the president. He gets his few billions and millions of dollars, and he walks out and tells you guys, okay, now we can, I'm working to rectify things here. I'm going to talk to Ruto and to make sure that extrajudicial killing imeisha and the economy, bei ya mafuta inaenda chini, and just a bunch of usual nonsense that we always hear. And he's back again, using the same script to get what he wants. So guess what? So here he is. We had him yesterday, and I'll do a full review tomorrow about Raila's sit-down that he had 2 days ago with, who was that gentleman? I don't even know who he was. I think it was in NTV. I'll do a full breakdown in response to his interview tomorrow about that whole mess that he sat down. So again, coming back to my main point, what I'm saying is this: there is no other way to democratically remove Ruto from power. You are not going to change a corrupt system by using the very system that's in place to defeat the perpetrators and the beneficiary of the very system that you're trying to overhaul, okay? You have to use something that's outside of the system. And that one thing that I talk about is popular revolution. That is why Ruto and his gang got Raila Odinga on his side, paid him handsomely, okay? After Raila agreed to join him in the blood-based government, pretended, okay, the payment, I've been saying this, okay, the whole AU stake, okay, was about payment. Raila was not going to win. He knew that. Everybody knew that. That was a payday move to justify the money that you had was withdrawn from the, consolidated funds that nobody knows where it went to. Go ask the Audit General, okay? Remember that MP that asked about that? He found himself in Rumande. Remember? Like I said, the whole point of this AU campaign, the guy was provided a private jet. He was not. Do you remember this? Do you guys remember this? Do you remember this? The guy, Raila and his best friends, okay, Hassan Joho and Junet and all those idiots, they were actually handed a private jet to fly across Africa, okay, fully paid for by the government of Kenya. Eating whatever they want, staying in the most expensive hotels that money can possibly buy, meeting all these various heads of states, okay? And you, the taxpayers, were footing the bill for that. And after he lost, he wasn't that upset. He wasn't upset because why? He knew this was a whole play so that they can say, you know what? This money that we took out from the consolidated fund was used to actually do what? To fund the campaign of Raila Odinga. AU campaign, okay? For the private jets, for the super hotels that he was staying in with his friends, concubines, and every expensive meal that they had, and everything, etc., okay? So after they got Raila Odinga to come in on the fold, what else did they do? They were not done with Raila Odinga. That's why Raila Odinga, once he came back as Ninio, they met at Mombasa, remember? Wakasalimiana kweli kweli, kwa hamu na gamu, na kwa shangwe na vigelegele. Why? Because there was another plot also. They understood that the Gen Zs, were planning more protests. So how can Raila still help Ruto survive this protest? Because these guys were going to remove were going to remove Ruto. So how are they going to use Raila Odinga's influence and network, nationwide network, to subdue this protest? Here enters Maina Njenga and Raila Odinga goons. Okay, two people who are usually diametrically opposed politically now join hands, offering their goons to intimidate the Gen Zs who are protesting against the government. Okay? Not only to intimidate, but to infiltrate the movement by putting people like Morara Kebaso, Kasmuel Makaure, okay? And with time, these people showed their face. Whatever, what's her name? Hanefa, Sarfi, whatever her name is. Boniface Mwangi was already suspect. You remember the first day when he went out to June 25th and people slapped him, beat him up because they knew he was a faker, okay? So they slapped him, beat him up, and he never went to another Mandamano. Every major Mandamano after June 25th, 2024, Boniface Mwangi has never showed up because he knows people know he's working, he's an NIS agent. You already saw the video yesterday when they took him in and he walked out with the flag, acting like Nelson Mandela coming out of Robben Island after 27 years. I mean, it was ridiculous. And his kids were there with flags and his bald wife and his Wazungu friends. It was just for show, and people could see it. Okay, I gave you the rundown of how this guy is fake. Let me read this comment real quick. WS is saying National Intelligence Service, NIS, worked with Israeli NSO group, possibly UAE, Rwanda, Morocco, who are Pegasus clients. There you go. I didn't even know that. I don't know how many. I know Rwanda has very close ties to Israel, okay? Because Rwanda with the diamonds and diamonds, especially the influence diamonds that they're getting from Congo. Okay, remember, Rwanda is like the gateway. The Rwanda has a lot of control inside Congo. So Israel and among other Western countries, they use Rwanda and Kagame to do their dirty work, you know, funding of those M23 and all that stuff to mine all these minerals and give them and all this stuff. You know the drill, okay? A handshake, okay, sorry. I'm fed up with ambulance chasers, Boniface Mwangi, the gatekeeper. Yeah, the Tutsi, absolutely. Yeah, the Tutsi now are in power. They're the ones, what's his name? Kagame is in power. So yeah, that's what's happening right now. So yeah, so like I said, that's why I'm vehemently opposed to this idea of going through elections in 2027. We are just wasting time. Okay? And unfortunately, it will take some of us, unajua wengi wetu tuko kama Thomas, the doubting Thomas. We have to see it to believe it. Okay? Mkiambiwa mapema, if you're being told, here are the signs, watu wanakataa. Okay? Because if you can see the build up, look at the exchange between Gachagua, Ruto, Murkomen, Oscar Sudi. Just listen to how these people are talking. Raila Odinga, the Kalumas. Just listen to how these people are talking. They're building you up for this chaos that's going to happen because they know what's about to happen. Okay? Na wakina Sifuna wameanza kucheza kwa sababu wanataka kujipanga for 2027. So they're pretending. Sifuna now is pretending like he's the most anti-Ruto ODM member ever. Okay? Anaenda huko anatuzungumza na Okwara anamwambia Ruto, the number one agenda for the Kenyan people is to remove you. Meanwhile, this is the guy who was actually handing Ruto the paperwork for broad-based government to sign. He was there, suited up. Okay? Thomas is your surname. Aya basi. Thomas. Nitakuita Gypsy Corner Thomas. All right. So that's the game of that's the name of the game. Now, why are some of us want a people's-led revolution? Well, a revolution, a popular revolution, means it's a revolution that is led by the people. Okay? There's no individual. It is by the people, for the people, and there's no one person like Raila Odinga who can tell us, oh, maandamano ni Tuesday, then Tuesday comes and say, tungojeni mpaka Wednesday, just playing around with people. Nobody's in control. It is the people who are in control of the popular revolution. You understand what I'm saying? Because listen, if you go to election, think about it. Who's in control of these elections? Nyinyi mnataka kumtoa na election. Who is in control of this whole electoral process? Who's really in control? William Samoei Ruto. Directly or indirectly. He's in control. But if you have a revolution, a people's revolution, popular revolution, it is the people who are in control. If you're buying into the nonsense by the so-called united opposition, who's in control of that? The very people who belong to the same group as William Samoei Ruto. So in essence, you're getting the other side of the same coin. You are removing Ruto to put Matiang'i in place, who might be probably, by given the science and history, is just as bad, if not worse than Ruto. Same thing with Gachagua. This is the guy who was waking up at 5 a.m. saying he will deal with Gen Zs. And indeed he was. In fact, there's a video of him saying, actually, if the Gen Zs didn't go to the protest, they will not be dead. That's the argument. These are the guys that you want to, these are the people that you want to replace Ruto with, so-called united opposition. See what I'm saying? So you are really just, ni kama you're flipping chapati. Ile upande hii imeshakuwa black, sasa ishakuwa na madoadoa, unaigeuza hiyo side nyingine ndio ichomeke kidogo. Alafu 1 year after now mtaanza kusema Matiang'i must go. Ama sijui nani, Gachagua must go. You see what I'm saying? So you are still not in control of it. You see what I'm saying? So if you go to this electoral process, Ruto isn't fully on control of it. And even if he loses, he still wins because guarantee Ninio. My choice for Ruto's replacement is the people of Kenya. How about that? Because the people of Kenya are the ultimate sovereigns who will choose whoever they want to lead them or represent them, not lead them, but represent them. You understand what I'm saying? That's the answer I will give you. It has to be a people-led movement, popular revolution, total overhaul that is moved, engineered, organic, and is pushed, propelled by the people, not Raila Odinga sitting in his house in whatever telling us to go for Mandamano, not Gachagua telling us one time, and then, okay? So I can't give you a name until the people remove Ruto first, and the whole colonial, corrupt, political Kenyan class, oligarchs. Once they all are removed by the people who are the sovereign people of Kenya, once they remove Ruto, that's when we shall start worrying about who do we elect as the new representatives that shall do what? Shall promote our interest as a nation, as a republic. That is why I cannot give you a name and tell you this guy is going to be the president, or this guy should run for president. That guy should run for president. This guy should run for president. Because it will not serve you any good if I give you a name knowing very well that this person is going to vie for an office through an electoral process that Ruto and the whole political corrupt elite oligarchy are fully in control of. That's why people who are saying Maraga, you're wasting your freaking time. Stop daydreaming. Get out of your slumber. It sounds good. It's exciting. Okia Wamtata. Who cares? They are not going to win. Get that over your heads right now. I'm saving you a total disappointment. You see? I'm trying to find out where. I'm glad you asked that question. I'm trying to find out where is Gachagua's next speaking engagement, where he's going to talk to Kenyans in the diaspora. I don't know where he's. I don't know his itinerary. The last time I saw him, he was in Boston somewhere. Okay, I told you guys before, even when he first came, I told you Boston and Seattle. Those are, number one places where the people of Mount Kenya are heavily populated in, and also Texas. So don't be surprised if he goes to Texas. Okay, but I don't know where he will be. I saw Matiang'i was in Baltimore, Maryland. Okay, I guess he stays in the East because Maryland, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. is not too far. And I think Washington, D.C. is where the World Bank has their Ninio. They have their headquarters or something like that. I mean, DC and New York, Baltimore, it's all the same kind of. And I saw, yeah, I don't know if you guys saw that in the little snippet by a lady who was from Washingishu who said 2 times and she asked Matiangi, are you willing to, I don't know, sit down, work with Ruto? Some silly question. And people are saying, oh, Matiangi has been confronted. So it was a silly question. It was a silly question. That was not a confrontation. He put me there, nitaenda na camera, and I will ask him questions that people really want to find out. Okay? So, yeah. So, okay, WS Bank anasema, Ruto na magaidi lazima waondoke. Wakenya should drop politics. We are not borders and flags. We need to take the spear and the shield of the flag and in our hands. Okay. Ruto must go. Will not make it to Spotify this time round. Been singing this since 1963. Tutakutana Jumanne, hapana tukutane Jumatano. Okay. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So there's this illusion of choice. They're lying to you that there's a choice, and the choice you have is this: the united opposition. Is that what they call it? The unified opposition or united opposition versus Ruto and his conman. And conman is already talking about bailing him out in 2027, or saying, you know, just a bunch of madness. So we do not have a real choice. That's why the only way to guarantee that this constitution shall be respected is if the people come together and decide to exercise their power directly by removing Ruto and the whole corrupt political Kenyan elites from power. And then after doing that, let them choose at that point their new representatives that shall do what? Further their interest as the people of this great Republic of Kenya. That's how you do it. Right now, do not worry about these clowns running for president. No, you are not going to get the results that you want. You are not going to get a Kenya that you want if you are going to parade this non-proven, well-recorded colonial puppets. Okay? Did you see the 3 terms have elevated Omosh 1 hour richest Forbes grid? Ay, Omosh 1 hour. Yeah, I saw a picture. I guess he had a handshake also. He had a shake with Ruto, and ever since now he's the new, you know, he's suited up. He's like talking all that nonsense about you know, how Ruto is good. And listen, Omosh 1 hour. What's the other one? Bunge la Wananchi. Bunge la Wananchi. Let me just say that Bunge la Wananchi is good for shits and giggles. If you want to be entertained, watch those guys. They're a bunch of entertainers. They're doing it for the money, okay? They are doing it for the money. They don't, you know, and we get entertained. It's funny. They are the new Vioja Mahakamani. Okay, they're funny. Okay, it's like political humor. Okay, now, you know, all of a sudden, yeah, that's I don't take any of them seriously. Like, what's the other guy? Nuru Okanga. I don't know where he is. I mean, there was a time when Nuru Okanga was there, right, like this. Then Nuru Okanga akashikana na akaenda kakutana na nani? Oscar Sudi. Remember when walikuwa natukanana? Then Oscar Sudi promised him some houses. Whatever the case. These guys they're entertainers. Don't take anything they say seriously. Don't take them seriously. There's nothing serious about those folks. They're just there to entertain, and watch them for the entertainment value that they provide. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't take them seriously. That's why I would never attack them. I don't have any hard feelings towards them. I mean, along ulienda recess ama unatafuta. I'm looking for Riggy G. Somebody help me, tell me where Riggy G is. Riggy G, please send this message to Riggy G. Riggy G, I'm looking for you. Riggy G, niliona uko na ulipewa ninio. This guy hired the Secret Service or whatever the case is, with the help of I think it was BPD, Boston Police Force or whatever the case is. Okay, So he was traveling like a big dog. Okay, so I'm looking for Gachagua and Matiang'i. Those are the two people. Please tell me if you know where Gachagua resides or where he's staying, what town, where he's going to speak his next speech. I'm going there. I will fly, I will drive, I will get there, I will run, I will walk, I will scroll. I want to meet these guys and I want to ask them questions. I'll have my camera with me and I will go live so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, but the problem is I do not, I'm trying to find every information that I have tried on the internet to see where these guys, see, they don't post the itinerary. They don't tell us that they're going to be in so forth. And these groupings, these people that they're meeting seems like a private, by invitation type of stuff, okay? It's not really for the public, everyone. That's why it's hard to meet them. So it is what it is. That is true. I mean, you know, I have no idea. That's a good point. They say it's going to be difficult to get genuine Kenyans kick out Ruto. Well, that's when we shall find out how much people like Ruto or dislike Ruto, the real revolutionaries and the fakers, because there are people, like I say, there's infiltrators. Kuna watu ambao wanasema Ruto must go because it's trendy to say Ruto must go, but they really don't care if he stays or not. So we'll find out that soon. Mama Kai got an award for her comedy somewhere in US. Wait, who's Mama Kai? Oh, Mama Kai was Vitimbi. Was it? What? No, wait. Mama Kai? Yeah, it was Vitimbi. Mama Kai was Ojuang's wife, right? Yeah, Mama Kai na Ojuang. There was Ojuang, then there was Masaku. Othorongongo died. Who else was there? What's the short guy? Who was the short person? I forgot his name. Mwala. I think it was Mwala. Yeah, Mwala. Then later on we have, is it Mogaka? Mogaka came in later. Yeah, but back in the day it was Ojuang, Othorongongo, Masaku, Mama Kayai. Yeah. Good times. I miss TV. I need to find those old tapes to watch. Mkuki. Anyway, guys, it's been 47 minutes. Mikuki Shield in Swahili, it's called Ngao, Masai Spear Emet, or Ano for shorter spear, Shield. But yeah. Anyway, guys, it's been 47 minutes. I just wanted to chit-chat with you guys briefly on what's happening, just basically about this illusion of choice that we call election or the electoral process. Nothing really shall yield any desired results after that. So join me for my next live tomorrow. Like I say, tomorrow I'll probably break down the interview that Raila had 2 days ago and anything new that happened between now and then. And again, I'm still looking for Gachagua. I still don't know where he is. I don't know where he's going to be. If you have some info, please inbox me, DM me on my X page, Kenyan Revolutionary. Tell me what's going on, and I will follow up. I'll tell you I have time. I don't know about you. I have time. I want to meet these people. I want to ask them questions, and I want to put it on tape so Kenyan people can actually hear what these people respond. Real questions, not this nonsense that they have been talking about, okay? But anyway, guys, thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace and blessings. I'll see you. Put your notification button on, bell on, so every time I come in, you can always find me. Thank you so much, WS Banker, Gypsy Corner, Katende as usual, and everybody else who has been watching this, and everybody who's going to watch this on repeat. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the good stuff, and I'll see you later. Peace and blessings. I'm out.